There's a hidden burden inside millions of homes, weighing people down without them even realizing it. It's not just old furniture or stacks of papers, it's something far heavier. Memories, regret, fear of the future. Imagine this. You're standing in your childhood home. Now you're home, surrounded by decades of possessions. Boxes stacked to the ceiling, closets overflowing, drawers packed with things you haven't touched in years. You tell yourself, I'll sort through it one day. But that day never comes. Then one afternoon, you stumble over an old pile of magazines. It's just a small fall. You brush it off until next time, when it's worse. This isn't just about clutter, it's about what it's costing you. Studies show that too much clutter raises stress levels, increases the risk of falling, and even leads to isolation. The more stuff you hold on to, the harder it becomes to move freely, to breathe, to feel at peace in your own space. But the hardest part isn't the mess itself, it's letting go. Or it is, because clutter isn't just objects, it's stories, it's identity. And for many seniors, it feels impossible to part with the things that represent a lifetime. But here's the truth. You don't have to lose your past to create a lighter, freer future. And today you're going to learn exactly how to break free from the 5 emotional traps that keep so many people stuck. The last trap is the most dangerous, and almost no one talks about it. Stay with me until the end, because once you hear it, it'll change the way you see your possessions forever. Trap number 1. This item holds my memories. Do you ever pick up an old photograph, a dress from years ago, or a letter from someone you loved, and suddenly feel like you're right back in that moment? That's the power of memory. But for many seniors, these objects don't just remind them of the past. They are the past, and getting rid of them feels like erasing history. Margaret, a 72-year-old woman, knows this struggle all too well. After her husband passed away, she found herself clinging to every little thing he ever touched. His old coat still hung in the closet, his favorite chair sat untouched in the living room, and in the attic, she had boxes filled with birthday cards and love notes from decades ago. She told herself she'd sort through them someday, but every time she tried, the memories came rushing back, and she couldn't bear to let go. Science explains why this happens. Our brains form emotional attachments to physical objects because they serve as triggers for important memories. This is called associative memory. When we see, touch, or even smell an object connected to a loved one or a past experience, our brain lights up with the emotions from that time. That's why an old record player can make you feel young again. Why a piece of jewelry from your mother can make you feel her presence, even if she's been gone for years. It's not just about the object, it's about the feelings attached to it. But here's the good news. Letting go of physical items doesn't mean letting go of the memories. Margaret found a way to keep her husband's presence in her life without holding on to piles of clutter. She took photos of the most meaningful things and created a small, beautiful memory book. She chose just one box of special keepsakes and let go of the rest. She even gifted some of his items to family members who would cherish them, allowing his memory to live on in a new way. And for the first time in years, she felt lighter, as if she had made space for new memories while honoring the old ones. If you've ever struggled to let go of sentimental items, you're not alone. But tell me, what's one thing you've held on to because of its memories? Share it in the comments. Your story might help someone else take their first step toward letting go. Trap number 2. I might need this someday. You open a drawer and see a tango of old phone chargers. In the closet, there's a coat you haven't worn in 20 years. The garage, stacked high with tools, spare parts, and holiday decorations that haven't seen daylight in a decade. You tell yourself, I might need this someday, but someday never seems to come. Robert, a 78-year-old retired mechanic, knew this feeling well. His garage was packed wall to wall with tools, wrenches, drills, saws, most of which he hadn't used since he stopped working. Every time his daughter suggested clearing it out, he resisted. What if I need it, he'd say. What if someone else needs it? I don't want to waste good things. But deep down, he wasn't keeping them because of their usefulness. He was keeping them because letting go meant admitting that part of his life was over. Psychologists call this the just-in-case mindset, a survival instinct hardwired into many of us, especially those who grew up in times of scarcity. If you've ever experienced hard times, You know what it feels like to hold on to things just in case you need them again. But here's the truth. Hoarding out of fear doesn't create security, it creates stress. Studies show that people who live with excessive clutter clearly feel less in control, not more. The more you hold on to, the harder it becomes to find the things you actually use and need. So how do you break free from this trap? Robert found a simple solution. He set a rule. If I haven't used it in a year, it's time to let it go. He started with the things he knew he wouldn't need: rusty tools, old wires, broken appliances. Then he moved on to clothes, kitchen gadgets, and stacks of unused notebooks. He donated what was still useful, sold a few items, and threw away the rest. And something unexpected happened. He felt relief. Suddenly, his garage wasn't a storage unit for the past. It was a space where he could breathe, move, and even work on new projects. Now take a moment and ask yourself, is there something in your home that you're keeping just in case? A broken blender, a drawer full of old keys, a pile of mismatched Tupperware lids? If so, let's talk about it in the comments. Type yes if you've ever held on to something for years thinking you might need it someday. Trap number 3. But it was so expensive. You open your closet and see it. A beautiful coat you bought years ago, still hanging there with the tags on. It was expensive, a real investment piece, but you never wore it. Maybe it didn't fit right, maybe it just wasn't your style, but every time you think about getting rid of it, a little voice in your head stops you. I paid good money for this. It would be a waste to throw it away. Linda, a 68-year-old woman, struggled with this exact problem. Her closet was packed with designer clothes, handbags, and shoes. Some still in their original boxes. She had spent years building this collection, spending thousands of dollars. But instead of bringing her joy, her closet filled her with guilt. The problem? She wasn't holding on to the clothes because she loved them. She was holding on to the price tag. Psychologists call this the sunk cost fallacy, the belief that because we spent money on something, we have to keep it, even if it no longer serves us. But here's the truth. The money is already gone. Keeping an unused item won't bring it back. It won't make the purchase worthwhile. It only makes you feel worse. Linda's daughter finally helped her see this in a new way. "Mom," she said, "keeping these clothes isn't making the money come back, but giving them to someone who needs them, that's turning a mistake into a blessing." So Linda made a decision. She sorted through her closet and donated the pieces she never wore. She sold a few high-end items online and used the money to buy something she actually needed. And just like that, the guilt was gone. Instead of being weighed down by the past, she felt lighter, freer, and more in control of her space. Now take a look around your home. Is there something you're holding on to just because of how much you spent on it? A kitchen appliance you never use? A piece of furniture that just collects dust? Ask yourself, is this item adding value to my life or just adding clutter? If you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 3 below to let me know you are here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Trap number 4. I don't know where to start. You walk into a room determined to start decluttering. You look around, there are piles of papers, boxes stacked in corners, closets overflowing. You think, where do I even begin? The sheer size of the task feels overwhelming, and before you know it, you push it off for another day. Tom and Nancy, a couple married for 50 years, found themselves in this exact situation. Their house was filled with decades of memories, old furniture, holiday decorations, gifts from family, and paperwork that had been piling up for years. Every time they thought about tackling it, they felt paralyzed. The idea of sorting through everything was just too much. This feeling is what experts call decision fatigue. When there are too many choices, the brain shuts down, making it harder to take action. When clutter builds up over years, it's not just a mess. It's a massive list of decisions waiting to be made. Keep or toss, donate or sell. What if I regret it? That's why many people give up before they even start. But Tom and Nancy discovered a simple trick that changed everything. Instead of trying to tackle the entire house at once, they started with just one small space, a single kitchen drawer. Then the next day they worked on a single shelf. Each little victory made the next step easier, and before they knew it, they had cleared out an entire room. Here's the secret. Don't focus on the whole house. Focus on one small win at a time. Try this. Set a timer for just 10 minutes and declutter a tiny area, like a single drawer or a countertop. When the timer goes off, stop. If you feel like doing more, great. If not, that's fine too. Progress is progress. Now tell me, have you ever felt so overwhelmed by clutter that you didn't know where to start? Type "help" in the comments if this sounds like you, and let's support each other in taking that first small step. Trap number 5. Letting go feels like losing a part of myself. You stand in front of an old bookshelf, your fingers tracing the worn edges of a familiar book. It's not just any book. It's the one you used to read to your kids when they were little. The thought of giving it away feels wrong, like erasing a part of your life. For many seniors, clutter isn't just about objects. It's about identity. Every item represents a chapter of your story, who you were, the roles you played, the people you loved. Letting go can feel like losing those pieces of yourself. George, a 75-year-old retired teacher, struggled with this. His home was filled with lesson plans, stacks of old papers, and boxes of books he used in his classroom. He hadn't taught in years, but these things made him feel like a teacher still. The idea of getting rid of them felt like closing the door on that part of his life forever. But then something changed. A young woman from the local school stopped by and mentioned how the kids desperately needed books. Suddenly, George saw his old materials in a new light, not as things to lose, but as things to pass on. Instead of sitting unused in his home, they could help shape young minds, just as they once had for him. That day, George packed up his books and donated them to the school. He didn't lose his identity, he shared it. And with that, he felt lighter, not just in his home, but in his heart. The truth is, who you are isn't tied to objects. It's in the love you've given, the lessons you've shared, and the stories you've lived. Your impact isn't in the things you own, it's in the lives you've touched. So ask yourself, what's one thing you've been holding on to because it feels like a part of you? And how could it bring joy to someone else? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it together. If you've made it this far, you already know that clutter isn't just about stuff. It's about emotions. Fear, guilt, attachment, identity. These feelings keep so many people stuck. But the good news is, you don't have to stay trapped. We talked about the 5 biggest emotional barriers that make it hard to let go. Maybe for you, it's the memories tied to objects. Maybe it's the fear that you might need something later. Or maybe it's that sinking feeling of waste when you think about how much you spent on something. But here's the truth. Your home should be a place of peace, not a storage unit for the past. Letting go doesn't mean losing who you are. It means making space for who you are now, for the life you're living today. And every small step, whether it's clearing out one drawer, donating one item, or just shifting your mindset, gets you closer to that freedom. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these fun emotional traps do you struggle with the most? Is there something in your home that you've been holding on to for years? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video helped you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. Your support helps keep this channel going so we can continue bringing you content that makes a real difference. You've got this, one step at a time.